StrayAllDay.com.
Now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you expect to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves all of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And we put all this together into one package, one framework, one approach, one mindset, one philosophy, a bunch of books, a couple specific books, and this daily masterclass. Yes, the show comes out every single day, and no, this is not a podcast. You can't compare this to anything else you hear on whatever application you are listening to this on. This is a daily masterclass, as I'm giving you the game on a high level that very few other people can reach, even if they tried. But this show and everything that I just told you about is all under one umbrella that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is I'm going to give you a simple improvement hack. Now, if you're listening to this show, I'm going to correctly assume that you're interested in self-improvement. You're interested in making the most out of yourself, getting the most out of your game, out of your talent, out of your opportunity, etc. Simple improvement hack is paying attention. Yeah, and I'm paying attention. Now, you might think you already pay attention. So you might say, Dre, well, maybe I'll skip this episode. Maybe this one is not for me because I think that I'm already doing that. Well, let me challenge you to that. On the contrary, one of the reasons why I talk about topics like discipline and confidence and mental toughness and paying attention and listening and communication, none of these are brand new concepts to anyone who's listening to this show, but I still talk about them. I talk about them from angles that you may not have thought about before, but also we talk about things that we think we quote unquote already know simply because the basics, the fundamentals, the things that we sometimes fool ourselves into believing that we're too smart to brush up on, to look into, to learn about. Those are the places that we make mistakes because we're not paying attention to the basics and to the fundamentals. So let's make sure that we pay attention to the fundamental things. Today, I'm going to talk about one of these fundamentals of paying attention. I think everyone understands the concept of it, and everyone could probably give a basic explanation of why it's valuable, but I'm gonna give you another angle of it here today. Now, before I go any further, let me tell you that I have a text message line where I want you to text me and tell me the best insight that you get from today's class, the best idea you got from today, the newest, something that you thought about here today that might be brand new to you. Maybe something that you heard today that is not brand new to you, but it might as well be because you haven't been doing it, you haven't been thinking about it, you haven't been conscious about using it for the last 5 years until you heard me say it, and you're like, damn, you know what? I used to think about that, but I haven't thought about it in a long time because your mind has been clouded up with, I don't know, whatever other garbage podcast you've been listening to other than this one that you shouldn't be listening to. You should just be listening to this one, but that's a tongue-in-cheek thing, but I might be being serious. But you're gonna text me. Tell me the best insight you got from today's class. My number is 305-384-6894. And when you text me, not only will you be able to engage with me there, you will also be in my texting community at that point, and you will be receiving my daily motivation text message, which goes out every single day. Every day I send out a daily motivation text message. If you didn't know, now you know. And when I send that message out, that's directly to your phone every single morning, you'll be able to respond to those as well. You can save them, screenshot them, all the things you do when people send you a text message. So same way you text with your friends, and they might not be able to give you the kind of game that I can give you. As a matter of fact, unless I'm one of those friends you're texting with, you don't have a friend in your contacts who can give you the game that I give you every single day. No disrespect to your friends, but listen, work on your game is working your game for a reason. So my number, once again, is 305-384-6894. So text me, tell me the best thing you got from today's class or from any other, and you'll be getting my daily motivation text message. If you don't have any feedback on today's, just text me anyway. Just say hello, and you'll be in my community. You'll get that daily motivation text. Number is down below in the description, show notes as well. Now, why is this improvement hack of paying attention? Why does this matter so much? First of all, we talked about paying attention in several episodes, most specifically episode 609, where I talked about the 5 forms of investment: time, money, attention, energy, and focus. And most recently in episode 1920, I told you about how to turn attention into revenue. When you have people paying attention to you, how can you actually turn that into some actual revenue? Because just because people are paying attention doesn't mean you're going to get paid for it. You don't get paid for likes or specifically for views or comments or engagements or at replies or whatever other metrics social media applications come up with. You get paid when there's an actual exchange of money. Attention is not an exchange of money. Now, attention is an exchange of, something of value. It's something that we want. We want attention because you probably can't get somebody's money unless they're paying attention to you, unless you're like a cyber criminal, you're just stealing from somebody. So you want people's attention in order to get to the next step of getting their money. So attention itself is a good thing to get, but you have to know what to do with it once you have it. Now that kind of attention that's the kind of attention I'm talking about when you're trying to get people to look at you. The kind of attention I'm talking about here today is when you are the one you're on the other end of the equation, when you're the one paying attention to another person. And I'm telling you that paying attention will actually help you make your game better. So 1920, I was talking about attention from the other angle. In episode number 1850, also from the other angle, 3 strategies to cut through the fat and get attention for yourself. Episode 1760, a 4-step framework for promoting your stuff and getting attention to it, also from that angle. Episode 1511, the art of drawing attention. Episode number 1459, paying attention to detail versus being stuck in the details. This is the last episode, 1459, where I was talking about attention from the payee side rather than the recipient of the attention side. All those other episodes I just referenced are all about you getting people to give you attention. But I'm talking about today when you are the one who is giving attention to somewhere else. Episode 1428, do not give attention where you are not getting it. Episode 1272 is learning how to pay attention, which is what we're going to be talking about here today. Episode 1040, attention spans are not as short as you think. That's another one where you're receiving it. Episode 848, this is the last one I'll give you here. I got more of these, but I'll stop there. Episode 848, I told you how to lengthen your attention span. And there is a way to do that. And today, what I'm going to tell you about will actually complement what I talked about back there over 1,000 days ago in episode 848. All those episodes that I just referenced will be linked down below in the show notes as well if you haven't listened to those. So since we talked attention in episode 609, where we talked about the 5 forms of investment, you understand that attention is one of the most valuable resources that you have. Now, time is always going to be number one, but the rest of these, money, attention, energy, and focus, you're going to need to combine all 5 of these in order to reach your highest level in anything that you do. Anyone you know of who has reached the highest level of what they do, they've had to put all 5 of these investments in. You cannot get by not putting in any one of these 5 and get to the highest level of what you do. You will not be able to maximize your talent, opportunity, or potential if you don't put all of these in. So today, we're going to talk specifically about how paying attention will actually help you make the most out of your game, squeeze all the juice out of your orange so that you can actually get the results that you deserve to get based on your potential. Point number 1, the topic once again is improvement hack, paying attention. What you pay attention to, you're thinking about. You pay attention to something, you're thinking about it. You're noticing it, you're conscious of it. And being that as human beings, we have this limitation that we can only pay attention to one thing at a time. And with that being said, and with your brain being the most powerful tool at the disposal of human beings, is the most powerful tool that we know of, you now, since you're paying attention to something, you have recruited your strongest force, being your brain. It's the strongest object that you have, that is no object that you could acquire. There's nothing you can buy on Amazon, nothing you can invest in that is more powerful than the human brain, because any other object you could get started as an idea in somebody's brain. So the brain birthed every other object that you think you need that's going to help you be successful. Whether you're talking money, whether you're talking to other people, whether you're talking some type of material object, all of it started as a thought in somebody's brain, even money itself. So when you're paying attention, you're recruiting your most powerful tool, being your brain. Now you have your strongest force on your side, which means ideas, solutions, and results will soon follow. I mean, it's a very simple concept. When you are paying attention and you have recruited now your strongest force, your brain, you're going to get ideas, you're going to get solutions, and you're going to get results. If you are not getting results from or in a certain aspect of your life, then you should work backwards and ask yourself, how much attention am I giving to this area of my life? How much attention am I paying to this part of my life that is not producing the results that I want? I guarantee you, you're not giving it as much attention as you could be giving it, because if you were, you would be getting results. Even if the results you get are not the results you want, you will be getting some type of return on investment of that attention if you are paying attention, because there's no way you can put your strongest force, which is your brain, into something and not get any type of response and just get a blank and just get absolutely nothing. That's impossible. It's against the laws of physics. So even if your brain can't figure something out and get you the outcome that you want, when you're paying attention, you will be getting some kind of outcome, and you'll be seeing enough results that you can find out, okay, now I need to do this, I need to do this, or maybe you need to go get some help. Maybe you need to go find somebody who knows something that you don't. So even if your brain can't produce the outcome that you wish or that you want, if you're paying attention, now you can go look for someone who does have it. Because if you're paying that much attention, you'll realize, all right, you know what? I'm probably not going to figure this out on my own, or it would take me too long to do so. So since I'm paying attention to this, how about I go find someone who might have the answer so I can get this result? Because as long as you keep paying attention, you're going to continue to focus on that thing, and you're going to figure out what you do need to do if what you have been doing is not working. What gets paid attention to gets figured out, period. If you just remember that line right there, what gets paid attention to will get figured out. So if you have a challenge in your life and you're looking for a solution, you're trying to get to the outcome that you want, and you're not getting it right now, I guarantee you, if you give more attention to it, you will start to come up with ideas, you will start to meet people, you'll start trying different things out. But as long as you keep paying attention, there is no other option but for you to get the outcome that you want. Doesn't mean it's going to happen immediately. It doesn't mean it's going to come in the form that you want it to come in, but you will get the outcome that you want if you pay attention to anything for long enough. Point number 2. Today's topic again is improvement hack, paying attention. You cannot pay attention to more than one thing at a time. Now, this is your limitation right here. So even though you might have 7 things in your life that you really want to take to the max right now, the limitation that you have being human is that you cannot give your attention to all 7 at once. You can really only give attention to one thing at a time. There is no such thing as multitasking. I talked about that in my book, Work on Your Game. What you're actually doing is what they call task switching from one task to another. Even if you're switching, it's happening every second. 1 second on this thing, 1 second on the next thing, you are still switching tasks. You are not paying attention to 2 things at the same time. Again, the human brain is incapable of doing that. So when you think you're doing that, you're lying to yourself. The key understanding with all this is, the longer you can stay paying attention to something, the stronger your attention and then your focus grows. This is why I told you that focus is the force multiplier. I talked about this in episode 1193. Now, attention and focus are not the exact same thing. I talked about the difference between force and attention. Let me see if I can find that episode, what episode that was, where I talked about the two. But there's an episode where I talked about force versus attention, helping you understand the difference between the two. That was episode 795. Focus, not force, but focus versus attention, and helping you understand the difference. When you're paying attention to something, that means you're looking in that direction. It's kind of like if I'm paying attention to what's happening in the NFL football season, I'm looking in the direction, meaning I'm looking at the box scores from the games. I know who's playing against who each week. I'm watching the pregame shows. I'm reading the articles where people are talking about it. My attention is on the NFL and the season. Now, my focus might be on my hometown team. My focus might be on certain players that I like. My focus might be on whoever I have on my fantasy football league roster. So attention means you're looking in a particular direction. Focus is what you are noticing in that direction. For example, you could be sitting in the classroom at school and it appears you're paying attention to the teacher, because as the teacher moves about and they're talking and they're writing on the board, you're looking at them, you're making eye contact, you appear to be taking in what they're saying. But when the lecture is over and someone asks you, what was the teacher talking about in the lecture? You can't remember a word of what that teacher said, is because you were paying attention, but you were not focused. So you were looking, it appeared that you were taking in what was being said, but you can't remember a word of it. That means your focus wasn't really there, even though your attention was there. This is something that I can attest to myself. Having graduated from college, I sat in classes and did my best impersonation of someone who was paying attention. And many times I was paying attention, but I wasn't really focused, because I don't really recall or retain much of what was said in those lecture halls. So I was paying attention, but I wasn't focused. And I'm telling you that, emphasizing that, and again, I told you about episode 1193, focus being a force multiplier, is that the longer you pay attention to something, if the focus is there as well, because the longer you pay attention to something, eventually you're going to focus on some part of it, hopefully. If the focus is there as well, your brain powers actually get stronger. The longer you can stay on one thing, the longer you can stay paying attention, the stronger your attention grows, the sharper your focus becomes, and the more you're able to extract from whatever it is you happen to be paying attention to. All right, you can pay attention to anything that you want. Your attention and focus themselves, the actual elements of attention and focus, are impartial to what you're paying attention to. So if you're paying attention to and focusing on something that is negative, your attention and focus are not going to ring the alarm and tell you, hey, don't pay attention to that. How about you go get this instead? They're not going to offer you a suggestion. They will extract as much as they can from anything that you choose to pay attention to, anything that you choose to focus on. And if you choose to focus on something that's going to take you backwards, all right, they're going to give you the return on investment from that. Something that takes you forward, something that keeps you in the same spot while the rest of the world moves forward, all right, it'll give you that. So you have to make the wise decision using your skill of discernment, your skill of judgment. How do I know what I should pay attention to? You figure that out, or you get around some people who can help you out with that. I talked about discernment in episode 1431, your skill of perception and judgment. But the longer you pay attention, the more you're going to get out of whatever it is that you're looking at. You got it? Point number 3. Today's topic is how an improvement hack is paying attention. Number 3, attention is a gateway to focus. And I just explained this in point number 2. And focus, as I said in episode 1193, is your force multiplier. In other words, if you want to get more return on investment from the powers of your brain, the most powerful tool that you have. So I would assume you want to get as much ROI from the most powerful tool at your disposal, right? Then all you have to do is pay more and more attention to something, decide on what you're going to focus on within that thing, and you'll get better at it. This is why, what I just said there, this is why I would tell athletes when I was in my days when I was mostly talking to basketball players. These days is more people who are from different industries who are looking into personal development, entrepreneurs, business professionals. But back when most of the people reaching out to me were basketball players, I would get players who would say things to me like, Dre, well, I want to get better at basketball, but I need to get better at everything. I want to get better at defense, at shooting. I want to become quicker. I want to jump higher. I want to be able to dribble and do all kinds of moves. I want to be able to score. I want to be a passer with a high basketball IQ. And players would basically list every attribute of the game, and they say they want to get better at all of them. And I would often have to explain to them, you can't get better at everything at the same time. I mean, technically you can. If you just go out and play basketball a lot against players who are at a higher level than you, you will gradually improve at many aspects. But if you want to be intentional about your improvement, you got to pick one thing at a time. Why? Because we can all say it together now. The brain can only focus on one thing at a time. So you have to decide, what are you going to focus on? I understand there are 10 things you need to get better at, and maybe you're right. But we got to focus on one at a time. Let's get one taken care of. That's done. Okay, now there are 9 more. Now let's do the next one. All right, now there are 8 more. Now we're already down to 7. But you have to focus on things one at a time, because your focus and your force increases when you keep it in the same spot. The challenge for all of us is staying focused on something for long enough so that we can get that force multiply and actually get the results that we want. If you haven't gotten the results that you want from something and you feel like you have been focusing on it, then either A, you haven't focused for long enough, or B, maybe the way that you're focusing, what you're paying attention to, may just be faulty. Maybe you're just using an incorrect formula, so maybe you need to get some help. Someone who can help you get the right formula, so now when you apply that focus, you actually get the results that you want. People who teach marketing and sales often emphasize that you need to become obsessed with your clients and your customers. Now, what does that mean? It means paying attention to and learning as much about your desired target customers and clients, learn as much about them as possible so that you can best serve them. Now, if I'm a person who if I sell vegan food in a new neighborhood, I'm gonna find out as much as I can about people's need for vegan food, about people's desires, what they like and don't like about the vegan food they had in the past. I want to become obsessed with everything that customer is thinking and doing, and every impulse and action that they might take, at least when it comes to the vegan food that I sell, so that I can dominate that market. The best way for me to dominate the market is not necessarily to have the lowest prices or have the shiniest storefront. It's for me to know exactly what's going on in the minds of the very people who I want to serve. And I can get stronger at that and better at that the more I focus on those people, the more I focus on asking them questions, more focus on paying attention to what they're doing and not doing, more focus on what are they ignoring and what are they picking up on. All of this is my job as the marketer. So paying attention to learning as much as you can about the people that you want to serve, and to the exclusion of paying attention to anything else, is one of your biggest hacks in order to build focus, to make the most of the attention that you're paying. Paying attention leads to focus. Focus multiplies force. And since your brain is the most powerful tool that you have, when you combine your brain power with the force power of focus, results must follow. The question is, are you willing to make that attention investment? Are you willing to make the investment in paying attention enough and for long enough to get the outcomes that you want from your life, to get the outcomes that you want from your opportunities? Are you willing to make that bet that paying attention here to the exclusion of these other things is going to get me the results that I want? You have to decide that. I can't tell you that. I can offer some suggestions. I can offer some perspectives, but you ultimately have to decide, and you decide with your actions. You decide with the action of paying attention that something is worth paying attention to. You can't tell me something is worth paying attention to, but then if I watch you for a week, you give no attention to that thing. All right, it sounded good when you said it, but if you look at your actions, they're not following up. So understanding here that attention will help build your focus. And it's the gateway to focus. It will open up your focus, is actually the better way to say it. And the stronger your focus, the stronger your force. And the stronger your force, because you're using your brain for that force, the closer you are getting to results. And the more guaranteed your results will become. You will get results when you focus on something. There's no other way that it can happen. Let's recap today's class, which is an improvement hack, which is paying attention. I talked about attention again in episode 609, the 5 forms of investment, and several others that I referenced earlier in the show, all linked down below in the show notes. Number 1, what you are paying attention to, that means you're thinking about it. If I'm paying attention to you, that means I'm thinking about you. If I'm paying attention to something I'm working on at work, I'll probably be thinking about it on some level, even if I'm not at work. And with your brain being the most powerful tool at your disposal, you have not recruited your strongest forces when you dilute your focus by trying to pay attention to more than one thing at a time. Which means, if you're not getting results from or in a certain aspect of your life, ask yourself the following question: how much attention am I giving to this aspect of my life? Even if your brain can't figure things out, if you are paying attention, you will go looking for someone who does have the answers, because what gets paid attention to gets figured out. Point number 2, you can't pay attention to more than one thing at a time. There is no such thing as multitasking. So even if you split your attention between activity to activity, you're doing more than one task, and you're switching basically between those two tasks. You can't do two at the same time. But the longer you can stay paying attention, the stronger your attention becomes and the stronger your force grows. And point number 3, attention is a gateway to focus, and focus is the force multiplier, as referenced in episode 1193. The challenge is to stay focused on something for long enough that you get your calls stay focused on something for long enough to get your focus force multiplied to get the results from it. In other words, you call on that focus, and then you get the force, and then it multiplies, and then you get the outcome that you want. People who teach marketing and sales, they often talk about becoming obsessed with your customer, with your ideal client, knowing exactly who they are, why they are, what they're thinking, what they're needing, what frustrations they have, so that you can resolve all of that with your next offering, with your next episode, with your next product. So pay attention and learn as much about that other person as you possibly can so that you can best serve them. When you serve someone at a high level, usually they'll come back. Paying attention leads to focus. Focus multiplies force. And with your brain being the most powerful tool that all of us know about, results must follow. So the question is, are you willing to make that investment in yourself? I can't answer, but you can. Send me a text and tell me the best invoice insight you got from today's masterclass. My number is 305-384-6894, 305-384-6894. And if you are looking to get coached, to work with someone one-on-one who can help hold you accountable, who can help you with those insights that you're going to need to get yourself focused and helping you understand what you should pay attention to, what you don't need to pay attention to in your business as it currently stands, and where you want it to go, then you may be a good candidate for my 3rd-day mastermind. It is the only place that I offer direct coaching. If you're looking for that, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com/call. Fill out the quick form right there on that page. We'll get on a Zoom call free of charge. Talk about where you're at, where you want to go, and how I can help you bridge that gap. Again, workonyourgameuniversity.com/call. Send me a text. Tell me the best thing you got from today's class. Work on your game. Dre all day.